Popol Vuh is one of the last links that today's society has to the Mayan culture that was founded so long ago. Now, the Popol Vuh is one of few texts that actually survived a book burning of the Mayans, and it includes many Mayan narratives, including creation, lineage, and Xibalba. Xibalba was the Mayan underworld, and the Mayans understood it to be right below the Earth's surface. It contained courthouses and tests. It was also associated with 12 gods. Two of these gods were Vucub-Kame and Hon-Kame. Something that's important to understand is that all of the Mayan gods of death worked in pairs. Now, Hun-Kame and Vucub-Kame actually ruled over the realm of death. The realm of death is also called the place of fear, which is actually a rough translation of Xibalba. Now, there were 10 other gods underneath Hun-Kame and Vucub-Kame, all also working in pairs, and they were sometimes referred to as demons. This first pair of demons was Aholpu and Aholgana. These two worked together to cause human bodies to swell and explode. The second pair of demons were Kamiabak and Kamiahalam. These two would work together to bring skeletons back to life. Now, Kami in the Mayan language actually means death, while Bak means bone. Halam in the Mayan language actually means manifest. So these two demons were Kamiabak, death and bone, and Kamiahalam, manifest bone. The third pair of demons in the Mayan underworld would wait for travelers to find themselves alone or to be soloed out. Once they had soloed these people out, they would cause them to cough up blood and eventually die. Ahol-Mez and Ahol-Takab were the fourth pair of demons in the Mayan underworld. What they would do is hide in the shadows and wait until you couldn't see them, then they would jump out and stab you to death. The fifth and final pair of demons in the Mayan underworld were Shakiri-Apat and Kuku-Makik. What these two would do is cause sickness and disease in the body until it was eventually corroded away and their victims would die. The pairs of gods in Xibalba were given domain over different realms of human suffering. They were also given helpers, and they would enlist these helpers to run around on the surface of the earth, causing suffering, pain, and torture to any human beings. If a traveler made it to the city of Xibalba, they had to cross a number of rigorous tasks. The first of these was a river filled with pus, blood, and scorpions. Now, if the traveler actually made it past these rivers, they would find themselves in a courthouse filled with the gods. Now, what they didn't know is that only some of the gods were present, while others were represented by realistic mannequins. One of these mannequins would ask the guests to be seated, and the guests would find themselves on a hot surface that was actually meant to scald them. Once a traveler made their request to the death gods, they were told to leave the courthouse and they were enlisted with a number of tests. Now, these tests would ask the travelers to stay in 6 different houses filled with 6 different tests. The first, darkness. The second, cold. The third, jaguar. The fourth, bat. The fifth, blades. And the sixth was heat. None of these tests were actually meant to be overcome by any human being. They were meant to be entertainment for the gods. The humans were always humiliated and never expected to overcome the tasks at hand. However, if they did, they would be invited to the ball court, where the gods would trick them into playing a game of Mayan ball, where instead of using the regular rubber ball, they would use a bladed ball to decapitate their guests. Until a famous pair of twins in Mayan mythology showed up in Xibalba and tricked the gods, leading to Xibalba's downfall. Before these twins enter into Mayan mythology, Hun-Hunappu was the Mayan that came closest to defeating the death gods, until he was invited to their ball court and decapitated with their ball. Now, the twins were conceived when their mother found the skull of Hun-Hunappu. The Mayans believe that the skull spit into the palm of her hand, and this is how the children were conceived. The names of these twins were Hunappu and Xibalanki. Now, these twins were hated even at birth because their family knew that they weren't of proper lineage. So the family was always looking down upon them and looking for excuses to get rid of them. When they couldn't get rid of them, they would actually give them rigorous tasks and chores to do throughout the day. But the family would notice that the twins would get these chores done supernaturally fast. What the family did not know is that the twins actually did have supernatural powers. The twins would use these powers to finish their chores in no time at all and would relax for the rest of the day. Now, the twins were still using their supernatural powers to get their chores done incredibly quick, and what they would do with their free time is relax or try to catch the woodland creatures. Now, usually the creatures would elude their capture, except 3 didn't upon their return. The first were the deer and the rabbit. The Mayans believed that this is how they received their short tails. The twins actually grabbed at each of these animals' tails and removed them, and the lineage from then on actually received the short tails from which their forefathers had. The final animal the twins caught was a rat. Instead of eating it, they actually decided to torture the animal by singeing its tail over an open flame. The Mayans believe this is how the rats received their skin and scaly-like tails. To save its life, the rat offered the twins some information, telling them that their father was actually the one and only Hun-Hunappu, the Mayan who almost defeated the death gods so long ago. Hun-Hunappu was known as a famous ball player in Mayan culture. The rat also told them where their grandmother and their foster family had hidden their father's gaming equipment. The twins proceeded to trick their grandmother to leaving the house, and in her absence, they snuck into the place where she had hid their father's ball equipment, found it, and became excellent Mayan ball players. The twins were such excellent ball players that the sound from their games actually disturbed the gods of death in the city of Xibalba. So, the gods of death actually invited them down to Xibalba, not knowing that they would be defeated, but trying to get rid of the twins so that they wouldn't hear the sound of their ball game any longer. The first test that the twins were given was to sit in the House of Darkness. Now, the House of Darkness was a house that was completely filled with black. The twins were each given a torch. If their torches were used up before the morning came, they were both to be killed. Using their clever wit and their supernatural abilities, the twins made it through the night with ease. This infuriated the gods in Xibalba, so they allowed the twins to skip this and invited them straight to the ball game, expecting them to be killed upon the use of their ball of blades. The twins proceeded to the Mayan ball court to play a game of Mayan ball with the death gods. The gods threw them the ball of blades in hope of decapitating the twins. One of the twins caught the ball with a racket, and they began to complain, saying they had only been invited to Xibalba to be killed by the gods. The gods were taken aback, and as compromise, allowed the twins to use their own rubber ball in the game. After this, a long, proper game of Mayan ball ensued. The twins, using their clever wit, actually let the gods win the game. This, however, was all a part of their ruse in a plan that they would use to eventually defeat the gods of death. After the ball game, the twins were sent into their second test. They were forced to stay in the House of Blades. Now, the Mayans believed that the twins were actually able to convince the blades not to kill them and to rest. After seeing this, the gods demanded that the twins bring them an extremely rare flower that was guarded in Xibalba. The twins, using their wit and supernatural abilities, talked some fire ants into gathering these flowers to bring back to the twins and offer a sacrifice to the gods. The guards who were originally guarding these flowers were sent to death by the Mayan gods for being unable to fulfill their duty. Now, once the twins had sent these flowers to the gods to sacrifice, they were invited to play another game of ball, which they also lost on purpose as a ruse to get into each of the houses. So after this, the twins were sent to all of the other houses that they hadn't previously been in. The House of Jaguars, Bats, Cold, and Flame. While in the House of Bats, Hunappu peeked his head out of the twins' hiding place, only to be decapitated by a bat. His brother was devastated for this loss, and the Xibalbans were celebrating. Xibalanqui, the second twin who had survived, was devastated that his brother had been killed. However, he used his supernatural powers to summon the beasts of the field and reconstruct a new head for his twin brother. The next day, the original head on his twin brother that had been decapitated was used as the ball in the ball game. The twins used their clever wit and exchanged a gourd for the ball when the gods weren't looking and replaced the new constructed head with the original head for the twin. Upon doing this, the twins were able to win the ball game and defeat the gods.